Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for making it to Grace for It podcast. Okay, so today we are going to be talking about motherhood in progress. As most of you already know, I am a mother of one little boy, and his name is Omari Easley. And so today I'm going to be talking about just the different movements that happen in motherhood. And instead of talking about it by myself, I introduced my sister, my friend, Des Easley, and I'm just going to give a brief understanding, a brief like intro bio about her. If you guys can do me a favor by sharing the broadcast, I was trying to share it to my actual page. In some reason there was a little bit of a malfunction with that. So if you can start your own watch parties, invite your mom friends, bring your questions, put your questions in the comment section so that we can answer any questions that you may have. And again, I'm getting ready to go ahead and introduce Des Easley. So our guest is Des Easley, who is also a mother, and she is a full-time employee with MedStar as a nurse case manager. Her son's name is Judah Easley. He is so cute. I always say that he looks like the little bear that's on front of the softener, and I can't remember what this bear is called, but he looks like a little cute bear. He's so cute. And so today we're talking about, again, motherhood in progress. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be fun. We're going to ask a bunch of questions and just kind of get our minds jogging and everything like that. Again, make sure you share and like the broadcast. And I'm going to bring her in. Hi.
Hi.
Okay, so I can hear you. I can hear you. All right. So we're trying to get everything together as far as bringing in the putting it on my stream so that we can have everybody else in, because right now we're trying to grow our likes and everything on our podcast page. But overall, we're going to start. So I wanted to start with just kind of you giving your background of what you do, how did you start it, Created to Mother, what kind of should just give people a background of what Created to Mother is, where it started, and all that good jazz.
Okay, so I actually Melvin kind of encouraged me to start it. He was like,
Hmm.
"You wanna you should do
And who's
something as it
Melvin?
relates to my husband." Okay. So I started it because when I after I had Judah, I had literally no idea how difficult motherhood actually was.
Hmm.
And um it was really, 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 really a rough adjustment for me. I would say throughout his first year, it was rough.
Mm.
So with that, I made the page. Even though things are rough, difficult in motherhood, we were created to do it. We were created to be whoever our children specifically are, their specific moms. So that's why that was my motivation behind making the page.
Awesome. So I do have like a little tag so everybody can follow you. I'm gonna put that up in a little while. But so you gave us background, we got your professional bio. Now the question is, so what actually, because we know that your expectations were like, whoa, like wait, this is actually kind of hard. What do you think your expectations were in the beginning? Like what motherhood was going to be like versus what reality really was?
So I used to help watch my niece a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and she was like the easiest kid ever. Like she gave you no trouble. You could say, Kennedy, sit here. I'm gonna go get in the shower. And this is when she was like 1 and 2 years old. You would get out of the shower. She's sitting in the same spot. Like she was the easiest child. She gave you no trouble. So I'm like, I helped with her. Like, I'm gonna be good. Like, I'm not gonna have any trouble, any problems. This is gonna be easy. Only I thought literally like the only problem I was gonna have was um with sleep. So I knew that was a reality. But then even experiencing that, is nothing compared nothing compared to what I thought it would be. It was
Right.
way worse. So like
Right.
when I was pregnant, I would wake up from my sleep to get ready for work the next day, and I woke up like I just slept all night, and this is not about to happen like in a couple of months. And then when it started happening, I was like, how how do people do this? Like how did everybody go through this? Like
Right.
why didn't anybody tell me this is what it would be like? So yeah, it was nothing like I expected it to be at all.
Mm. Wow. Yeah, and I feel like for me, what I think my expectations were worse. Like I thought everything that you got, and I got the opposite of it. So like for me, my expectations were yes, it was going to be no sleep, and then I thought that I wouldn't be able to do a lot of things. Like for me, I have so many different dreams and aspirations. Like I have so many things that I really want to do. Um, as many already know, as you know, I have my book, and then I had podcasts, and then the blog, and I was like, okay, all of that is going to be out of the window because I'm going to have to be running behind this child. And now I'm not going to speak to he's not one and he's not two, so I don't know, what that lifestyle is like yet. But I do, I totally was taken back and surprised by the lifestyle that I got, that I realized, okay, well, I actually got a pretty mild tempered child, but
Mm-hmm.
things could change. So I keep that, I do keep that in mind. But I think one thing I definitely wanted to express more to like some other mothers is that sometimes, with our expectations, especially when you've done it and you're like, okay, cool, I'm married, I did it, and now it's why not have a baby? But then you're like, oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's really cool to know that, because and I feel like in society we think like for someone looking on the outside in, it's like that's the way you do it. You have the marriage, and then you have the baby, and then like life should just be great. But like when you came out with the blog and just saying all the different things that like is the ups and downs of motherhood, it was amazing
Mm-hmm.
for me in my opinion, because I was like, wow, I'm not in that position as far as relationship, but the fact that I was still related, it was relatable that okay, it doesn't matter where you are as far as status and relationship. What it really matters is that we are all created to mother, and that our expectations are all sometimes whether
Mm-hmm.
they're high or whether they're low, that they can still be met in some capacity, and that
Yes.
we all do
Yes.
because we're created for it. And I thought that was really cool. So my next
Yes.
question is, what is the part of motherhood that you believe people don't take enough time to speak about?
Just like what we've been saying, how difficult it is
Mhm.
when you announce pregnancy, or tell people, family members, friends, co-workers, that you're having a baby. Everybody's like, oh yeah,
Mhm.
baby, 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 baby. Nobody takes the time or spends the time to let you know, like, this is like your life is about to change. You aren't going to be able to do anything the same way that you did it before. You can't, literally, you can't go to the store and just hop out the car. No, you got to grab your baby out the car. You can't just get yourself ready. You have to get yourself and the kid ready. You like nothing is the same. Eating, they want to eat. Wait till Omari starts eating food. They're gonna want to eat all your
All your
food. You can't use the bathroom by yourself. Like you literally can't do anything by yourself.
I
Your
love my
whole dynamic of life changes, and you have to adjust and find new ways to do everything. So people aren't really honest. And I think that, I don't know if it's because they don't want to damper, the excitement of having a child, but people really need to be honest and let people know, like in an easy way. There was one person that told me, and she told me very briefly. It was an old coworker. I was about to go out on leave, and she was like, Des, I don't know if anyone's told you, but you're gonna feel like you're being hazed. It's gonna
Mhm.
be really bad. And I was
Mhm.
like, what? And then, like the first week we had him at home, first couple weeks, I thought of her, and I'm like, She did not lie. Like, she was the only one that told me how rough the adjustment really was going to be. So people don't really talk about that. And I don't know why.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I want to know, like, what do you think is a good tip? Like, what is a tip? Like, if you could kind of do it over again, what is something that you would tell either someone else or another young woman who is having a baby? Because I think on the opposite side, some people who, because I feel like in a way I got a lot of the opposite. I got a lot of, like, we are both too, and like in different spectrums, because I got a lot of, it's going to be hard. You're going to really, you're not going to this, and like, it was like, they were telling me, you're not going to have, the time to do the things you want to do. You should try to already get some of your, ideas and stuff out there now, because there's going to be a time period where things are going to slow down. And if you're not doing it, then you're just going to lose momentum. And, but one of the things that I had wished was that people would give me more tips than just it's hard. You get what I'm saying? So like I wanted to know, like, what do you think that we could give as a tip of, like, okay, yes, it's going to be hard, but here's something that I learned in the process of, like, getting up in the morning and actually trying to get myself ready and him ready, something that you may do at nighttime, maybe like a tip or something that's like, nights are going to be hard, but it got a little easier when I did, this. So what would be like a good tip for, like, the parts that are actually that weren't expected, but we're creative for it, so we essentially learned how to get it done?
You're asking for what tip of advice I would give, or having a support system. If you, some people don't have that luxury, but having a support system and having people around to help you, because you're gonna be clueless. You're not gonna know what you're doing because you've never done it before. So you can't really prepare for something that you've never done. But once you're in it, you figure out ways to do it, and then having support people there who have been through it before, to be a phone call away or a text away to ask whatever your specific question is, or let them know what it is that you're having an issue with, and then they can give you, tips or advice on how to get through that phase or get through that situation.
Yeah. What do you think is a good way to really discern a good circle or a good support system? Some people don't necessarily have family. So, like, what do you say is some good characteristics to look for in, like, discerning your circle and really being able to know what type of people you can get some good sound advice from or support?
Yeah, so you have to watch and observe people, and how people actually who have children, and watch and observe how they raise their children, how they discipline their children, and people that have similar values to what you have. So if you see that in people, then you'll say, hey, I would like to be similar to that in how I raise my children. So those type, you want to just keep a watchful eye and watch how people treat their children, watch how they are raising their children, and those are the people that you want to get advice and tips and surround yourself with.
That's good. That's good. Okay. I like that you said support, because that's one of the things that I feel that if I didn't have, I probably have a whole entire different scenario because when I need to take a shower, I didn't even understand the importance of taking showers. I was like, did I take a shower today? Like,
yes
questions that I was asking, like, I don't remember. Like, let me just go take one just in case, because I don't know. Like,
I don't remember.
Yeah, especially during the maternity leave part of not having to get up and go to work. So just sitting in the bed with the baby, it was like, I was like,
what day is it?
Yeah, right.
What time is it?
So when people are going through this COVID-19, mothers are like, y'all fine, y'all okay, you be all right. We've been in the house. We have experienced this, y'all okay. I really, I was like really shocked at the seclusion of that, of being in the
Mhm.
house. Yeah. Okay. So let me
Yeah.
go to our next question. So what, with all that you've accomplished, that being that you have your degree, right?
Mhm.
And your degree is in
Nursing.
nursing. So with all that
Mhm.
you accomplished as far as going to school, and all your other accomplishments, do you believe that you have to actually be set up, like, you know, that there's this thing of like having to be like financially set up, um and let me get the rest of the question out, for being a great mother, or as like, or is that like a distinction as far as success, of that you can actually do or be a mom if you have made certain accomplishments?
So I don't think that one really has to do with the other. Because there are people who are very accomplished who have gone on to do crazy, amazing things in their careers and their personal lives. But then at the same time, with that, you can also not really spend time with your children. You're not really there with them.
Yeah.
So, having accomplishments doesn't necessarily set you up to be like, this amazing mother. You could, not have really accomplished anything professionally or personally or whatever, and be an amazing parent because you
Right.
have more time and you put all of your everything into your children. So I don't really think that your accomplishments have anything to do with your success in being a parent or a mother. I feel like it's where you place your time.
I like that. Okay. One of the biggest things that for me was like a big thing, especially because there's a big stigma on being a single mom. But when I actually talked to a lot of other moms and I had conversations with them who are married, they're like, it's no difference. So I wanted to know, do you think that there is a difference between, or that it's easier, more per
Hmm.
se, to actually raise children in marriage than it is to do it alone? Or would you say that it really all, depends on the situation?
I would say that it definitely depends on the situation. You could be, and it depends on the situation, the circumstance, and what specifically we are looking at. You can be a single mother living on your own with no physical or financial support from your child's father. Obviously that's going to be a lot more difficult than someone who's married and has support and a father for their child, and you know financial support, and they have everything wrapped up in their marriage. But you can also be married, and then you have a single person who, like yourself, like you live with support people, so you have more than one individual that can help you. Like if you need to take a shower, you say, here, hold him, let me go take a shower. Next day you can switch, give him to the next person, go take a shower. But if it's just two people in the house, you might not have as much support.
Mhm.
And then at the same time, regardless of whether you're single or married, fathers are not nurturers. So there are certain things that
I think that
they're
that's
not they're
actually
not going to be good
good.
at.
That I like that you specifically said that, because I feel like for a lot of younger people, and even moms who are, I mean, when I say young, I mean under 20, and even
Mm,
over 20, I think that we get caught up in, definitely trying to, everyone wants to do it the right way, which is absolutely fine. But when you actually explain the whole nurturing part, I think that is actually um a really good space to park right there, because you said nurturers, like we're nurturers, what in nurturing, it actually takes work. Like nurturing is a lot of work, and sometimes as moms I feel like we're looking for who we are in the men, when in reality that's just who we are. And so if we get to understand that that's not who they are, we're not necessarily
mm,
making too much of a big fuss on whether or not it's done the way that we would have done it, because we are two distinctively different people.
mm,
And so while they may provide, we have to nurture. We have to,
mm,
cultivate who they are going to become, and coddle and everything like that, while they are giving the discipline and the more, strict guidelines. So I love that you said that about
mm,
childbearing versus it being anything outside of the realm of, marriage or singleness. It really just all has to do with that's who we are. And at the end of the day, motherhood in progress is going to be that regardless of whether you're in a relationship, a relationship or not. So that was really good. So it was a post that you put on Instagram. It was so good because I was like, oh, wow, I never thought about that. You said that motherhood is a verb and not a noun. And I really like that. And I was like, okay, I want us to talk about that on the podcast. So can you just explain like what like where did it spark from, and then kind of just like what is your definition of that particular post and why you believe that it's a verb and is actually not a noun, which something.
So if you look at the word, obviously look at the word mother, obviously it's a noun because it's person. You are a person. You give birth to a child and make sure the mother.
Yeah.
The person. Okay. But as moms, we are always constantly, from the time we wake up to the time we go to bed, are doing something. Even when we're doing other things that have nothing to do with raising children, we're thinking about something that we have to do next, as it relates to our children. Whether it's when you get up, it's you have to change the diapers, you have to make them bottles, make them breakfast, you have to discipline them, you have to, every single thing we do is an act, like a verb is an action word. So when you're being a mother, day to day, everything you do, like we are like, oh God, I'm so tired. It's because we're always in action, always doing something as it relates to raising our children. So it's definitely a verb.
Yeah, I'm like not just a person. I'm a person in a car and a bib because I get thrown up on 15 times a day. And so yeah, action. I loved that. So what are some things that your children do, or that, well, I have children, but that your child does because you have Judah? What is it that Judah does that makes motherhood just worth it? What do you think that is just something that you like, you know what, okay, out of all the stuff I didn't expect, this really makes it worth the wow?
He's just super smart. You can tell him something literally one time, and you think he's not listening or paying attention. He could be beating his drum and you saying something to him, and he's literally not even looking at you. And the next day, he mentions or says or does something that you did a week ago, and you're like, how do you remember that? So it's like, as busy and as tiring as he is, those little things that he does that just makes you smile is just like,
oh, it's worth it. What would you say to like a mom who is like right now is dealing with being stressed all the way out as far as motherhood goes, and really like, you know, a place where she can find the worth itness in it? Like, where do you believe that she can look and see like, okay, where can I find that this is worth it? Because I am not feeling this right now.
Yeah.
It's a real
everybody goes through that, like literally. You can, and even if you're not, like, you have no idea where to find that, you know, it's worth it, it's always gonna pop up, because you can have the most horrible, hardest, terrible day.
Yeah.
And you get home and then the kids are running wild and not listening and doing everything you tell them not to do. And then they finally get to sleep, and then you're just looking in the crib or looking in their bed, just staring at them like, oh. So it's like you find it in them, even though like sometimes they are the source of your stress, the source of whatever you're going through, but you find it in your kids at the end of the day.
I like that. Find it in them, even when you don't see that being a mother is actually all that good, you still find it within them. So I like that, because that also goes back to your explanation of one of the things that you find worth it in motherhood is that you look at him and see how smart he is. And so even on
Mm-hmm.
those days, you can still acknowledge that although this is hard, I have really, partnered with God in such an amazing creation that he is so smart.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, what, I'm just stressed out, but he's super smart, like out of nowhere. The stuff I talked about yesterday, he has, which also probably makes it like, okay, let me make sure figure out what I'm saying, because if he wakes up tomorrow and is saying something that I don't want to be repeated, yeah, like if you're going off,
Yep.
you know, yeah, because I can imagine that if if it's you and your husband inside of the home and you guys might have an argument or something, and he comes back and he says, and he might say, be quiet, or you might say, be quiet, but in your mind, you wanted to say, shut up.
Mm-hmm.
And tomorrow he wakes up and says, well, shut up. You're like, oh, no, don't say that.
No, no, no,
You're
no,
going to be
no.
like, oh, so it makes you kind of be careful of like, okay, what to say, because he's super smart. So that's really,
Yeah.
I love that. What Okay, well, we asked that one. Okay, so have you ever found yourself struggling not to compare your parenting to someone else's?
Um, that's one thing that I actually try not to do, because each mother is very different, each child is very different. And then even mothers who have multiple children, your children are very different. And people have told me, the way they mother this child is not the same way they mother the next child. So, you can't look at someone else and compare what they're doing, because your child doesn't even act like their child. Her child's needs are not your child's needs.
Yeah.
So I definitely try not to do that. But one thing that I definitely do is when I see somebody doing something positive or something, you know, good as it relates to raising their children, and I like what they're doing, I'll try to incorporate that into what I do with Judah.
Hmm,
Or like there, and it goes the opposite way too.
that's cool.
Somebody can see what I'm doing, and then if they like it, they can do that with their child too. But comparing what you do to the next person is just never a good thing.
Yeah, exactly. I think that sometimes when for some people who may have had difficult childhoods, when it comes to being parents, I've heard a lot of people say, I look to, women who I believe may be a better fit or is doing motherhood the way that I may, want to do it or have seen it done. And I've heard a lot of people saying, well, I don't feel like I'm mother like this person or like that person. And I really wanted, the listeners to understand and to know today that it is okay to look at a
Mm-hmm.
mother and admire, like you said, the way that they, treat their children when, there's something that comes up. One of the things I loved that my own mother did is usually when there was something that came up that she didn't like that I did, maybe that she didn't like that even some of my friends did, because my mother parented some of my friends. So even when I
Mm-hmm.
actually seen the way that she would participate with us, one of the things that I saw her do was she took her time. She was very patient with her answers. She didn't try to if I was irritated or something and she was irritated, instead of
Mm-hmm.
saying, well, it's just because this is the way I want it to be, she didn't say it like that. She would say, well, okay, this is the reason why I'm making this decision. And the reason if I'm getting a punishment, it's you're getting a punishment because
Mm-hmm.
you did not, I told you several times to sit down and you did not sit down. And now I don't want to punish you, but you had to be punished because you're literally not listening. So even I recognize that even in myself now, when I'm talking to Omari, even though he is literally only 4 months years old, I always say he's smart. I do not have to talk to him like he is a baby all the time. I can literally
Mm-hmm.
tell him, you must be patient. Your bottle is on its way. I do not want to hear you crying 50 million times. It's patience, patience. And I've said patience so many times. And I came from when my mom was really just doing a lot of taking her time to explain something rather than getting just very irritated and saying, this is it, like just throwing her hands up and just saying a whole bunch of words just because she's
Mm-hmm.
frustrated. And I think that I compare my parenting skills to my mom a lot, and I definitely do think that there's a good comparison and then there's a bad comparison. Comparing,
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
in a place where you're looking at it from the standpoint of, I wish I was like that, versus the way you described it, which
Right.
I could use that. Like that would be a good
Mm-hmm.
me. That would be a good place for me to grow. So I think that is a huge difference. There's a different type of comparison versus a comparison of how bad or horrible you are. When at the end of the day, it's
Right.
just in progress. And so it's easy to
Right.
learn from one another, especially when the times are changing. Because I think sometimes listening to people who are more traditional parents in the past, where now you have all these different things like social media, YouTube Kids, all the, like, the TV shows used to come on the PBS, but now PBS is gone, and it's just like, okay, finding the right TV shows, finding the right stuff. So what's really cool is that instead of comparing, we just find ways to continue to progress in motherhood while
Mm-hmm.
adding to each other. That you're doing an awesome job, and I think that I might even take that one for myself. Thanks. So I think
Yes. Another thing that, like, last night, I posted a story of Judah writing on his chalkboard,
right.
and my friend was like, "Ooh, I'm throwing all these crayons away. I'm about to buy a buy a chalkboard."
I
She's like,
bet.
"It's crayons all over my wall." She's
Walls.
like, "I had never thought of that." So she's buying a chalkboard because she saw a chalkboard. So,
And see, that's good, because at the end of the day, it's not even, and that's why I said it's really important to know the differences between good comparison and bad comparison. Because that was like, oh wait,
mm-hmm.
hold on, this is a good trick. I done thought I was doing something good by getting these crayons, but Lord knows my walls is a mess, and I don't got time to be paying no more painters to come paint. Okay, so that's good. Like that's a great
Yes.
that's a great example. So how have you enforced rules as far as, like, I know that Judah's one, but even enforcing them now, because I'm always there, so I know that you have some things definitely in order. And then you also, I remember one day I walked in and this goes, I used to have the dishes clean, everything was just always together, and now they just gonna stay there. I don't got time. I don't got time. And I just
Yes.
thinking that it's so funny. So as far as like rules and keeping things together, like how do you,
Mm-hmm.
deal with that now?
So I have OCD, so not like clinically, but I just really like, I have a
So,
problem. I always have to like clean and straighten stuff up. So there are some things that I have had to let go of, and that's the sink. Like, I don't even care anymore. The sink, I have let that go, but I still have a problem with cleaning the house like all the time. But with Judah, um, like with me, like, it's kind of hard. Like, I'm not a disciplinarian. Like, I'm really not. And Melvin is more so a disciplinarian. So it's kind of hard for me. Like, and I don't know what it is, but children like they listen to their dads
oh
more
my
so
God,
than listening to
yeah,
their moms.
it's so weird.
Like, I could call Judah's name and he will ignore me, and then Melvin will be like, Judah, and then he'll jump and stop what he's doing, and I'm just like, did you not hear me? Like, am I mute?
Right.
So, like, right now, when Judah does something that he's not supposed to do, like, repeatedly, and you tell him no, stop, no, 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 he sits in timeout. And we started that. Melvin started that. So we've been consistent with that, because starting it early and starting it now, I guess, well, not I guess, it will put and instill in him that there are consequences for your decisions.
Absolutely.
Even
Yeah.
if it's just you touching and pulling something down, simple as that, pulling it down over and over. No, you're going to go sit in timeout because you're not listening. If we don't instill it now, then how much more difficult will it be if we start when he's like 3 or 4? Like, he's gonna be like, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I've been
So
doing what I want.
with your putting in the timeout, like what's the structure to it? Do you guys have like a specific time frame that you have him stay in timeout, or are you more so kind of like filling it out to when you believe that he's actually got his lesson?
So, like, there's this whole, I don't even know if it's like in literature or if it's whatever. I don't know. They do like people do like a minute per the age they are, but 1 minute in timeout is not enough for him.
Yeah.
No.
I was about to say.
And especially if he's still screaming after a minute has
Right.
passed
And
by, he's
still
not going to
really,
get out of timeout just because a minute has passed.
yeah, still
He
learning what
sits
timeout
there.
altogether.
Yeah. So he sits until we, fill it out. And if he's still crying, now he has to calm himself down and then he can get down. And then he goes back to doing whatever he was doing
See,
before.
that's good. I like that because as far as rules, like when for some women who may have younger children, knowing that although statistics may say that a minute per their age, if that does not work, continue to keep them in there until you see that the discipline has actually worked. That's really good. We're getting close to the end. What do you feel your most fear is for your child's growth as far as like becoming a teenager and or etc. Like one of the biggest things that you especially because he's a boy, I know me, I have a certain fear, and one of my fears is just continuing to allow Omari to be his own person, but really giving him a broad culture as far as what I don't even know how to explain this. With everything that's happening to a lot of Black boys, I'll say it like that. A lot of Black boys, it kind of puts me in a place of wanting to make sure that I'm not singling him into a place where he can't have friends who are from a different culture or from a different or from our culture per se, because there's a lot of stigmatism around our culture and our boys sometimes with some of the things that they get into. And so one of my biggest things that I feel like I've been afraid of is just making sure that he knows how to choose friends, how to choose associates. And I think that's like one of my biggest things as far as him growing up, and that he would have men and people around him to see the example of the type of people he wants to be around versus ever coming to the point of going down roads that I've seen. So like that's one of, for example, of my fear. So what would you say that if there is any fear that you have of his growth that you have?
So you took mine.
Oh.
Sorry. But yeah, like that's really it's really scary. We live in America. We know things that are happening to Black people, especially Black men, when they're not even, doing anything wrong. You can get shot dead and there's no justice served for it. So it's really, really, really scary thinking of him growing up, because he's cute now, but no one's going to see him as cute when he's
exactly
16, 17. He's not going to be cute. He's going to be a threat just because
yeah
he's a little Black boy walking around.
yeah
So I don't think that, times are going to change or be any different just because it's going to be 16 or 17 years that have passed. I mean, who knows what will be happening in 16 or 17 years. So, that's a fear of mine. But, we are people of faith. So we have to just pray and cover them in prayer and just let God do the rest, because
yeah
it's really nothing that you can do but instill in them, and teach them about what is going on, or what has gone on in the past, and
Mhm.
how to react in certain situations, and just pray that they're not affected by it.
And I like that you said for number one that we made the distinction that we are believers in Christ, so we know that we can find our source and that we can even pray that they know that their source is in God. And one of the other things that you pointed out was you said that you allow them to know what has happened before. I think that a lot of times we try to shelter children, and we don't give them a lot of what is actually happening around. We want to, especially in the faith world now, in this faith conversation, sometimes we talk a lot about putting God first and reading your word. And sometimes if you stay so in the word so much, it's a great place to be. It's a great foundation. And yet, and still, there is still so much that we need to know about what has happened, so that way they can take the word to the places that are currently happening. And I
Right.
think that was a great point to say, like, let's talk about what has happened in the past, and I want you to be familiar with it. And another point you said was give them ways to react to it. because, what happens if, they're in a market? What happens if they're in a store and for the first time they were just riding around with you and someone said, oh my God, you're really light skinned to be black, or you're really, and those questions come up and they're like, wait, I'm what? Like, what's happening? And you just kind of giving them a place. Also, one of my biggest things that I wanted to do for Omari is to allow him to know that I'm his safe space. If you have a question about something, I'm your safe space. You can come to me to say, what in the world, why would someone ask me, say that I'm more light skinned to be a darker child, or like my parents are this color and I'm this color. I want him to be able to say, well, I know I can talk to my mom because she's my safe space. I can ask all types of questions with her. So I know that for a lot of people in our culture and within our faith, we have a thing of like really trying to prepare the men. And there's always a huge question around preparing men for not just, society, but just manhood as a whole. One of my biggest things was, not just teaching them that they have to be a provider, but to also notice the things. Like, we understand there's always this thing about, oh yeah, men, they're not women, so they're not going to read your mind, so they're not going to, as females, I mean, it's not going to read your mind. You have to say what you want. But I do believe that there is still a way for us to grow men to be gentlemen and to be able to see the need of something without you asking it. Like, I shouldn't have to tell him, yes, you should provide. Yes, you should do certain things. But even as you grow up, always try to find where something is missing, where there's a need, versus only doing what you feel is the bare minimum. Find a need and then fulfill the need, or fill that empty space, so that you aren't, because God didn't bring our children, he didn't bring us here to do the bare minimum. He brought us here to fill in what was missing, because he knew we were the missing piece.
Right.
So if we know that we are the missing pieces, then to teach them that even when someone wants to bring me back into what has passed, so as they learn the past, they learn, their culture and where they come from, they understand, well, yes, that has been, but just like there was a Malcolm X, just like there was a Martin Luther King, just like there were so many other motivational speakers like Les Brown, I can still be the change that people are looking for, and they can respond in ways that shows them that, I understand what happened, but now this is who I am, and I'm here to now make the change that has never been seen before. Letting them know that they are the ones bringing in the legacy. They're not following legacy. They are the ones who are actually creating legacy. And that's like a big thing for me. We legacy, we want to create generational wealth, really building men to understand, like, yes, I want you to, because I hear so many conversations. I love getting on different podcasts and listening to live interviews and stuff like that. And one of the things that I listen to in a lot of different men's like gentleman club things, I go in and I scoop and I listen. I'm like, what y'all talk about? And one of the things that I said, you have to be a provider. You want to provide. You want to make sure that things are together. Make sure your credit is together. Make sure that before you go starting a family, that you have things together. But one of the biggest things that I noticed and that I really wanted to point out, as far as for me and having a boy and being a boy mom, is that, even the small things, like, okay, as he watches you, prepare dinner and has picking things off the floor. One of the things that he'll always know and learn is that, okay, I have to pick up after myself. No one is ever going to pick up after me. I have to pick up actually after myself. When I take my shoes off, I got to put it at the door. My godson does a cute little thing. Every time he takes his shoes off, he puts the socks inside of his shoes and then puts them at the front door. And anytime that I touch a trash can or anything that's on the floor, he's like, Morgan, you have to wash your hands. And I thought it was so cute. But I was like, one of the things that I got from that was I thought it was really cute, because I said, not only is it cute, but for him to grow up and to then require that of others in his space require that of others in his family, we're going to wash our hands, and we're also going to put our shoes at the front door. That I feel is actually bigger in manhood, and growing men as well, to do some of the stuff that is not necessarily providing, it's just taking care of yourself and not having to rely on anyone else to take care of you, because when I'm gone, I am your nurturer, but I'm not your maid. And so I want to make sure that is clear. So I want to take care of you as long as you can't pick up your own stuff, but when you can, I want
you can do it.
Amen. So okay, because I have a hard enough time keeping up after myself. So, okay, we got 2 more questions. So what would you tell a mom right now who's learning to embrace motherhood, as far as that in a whole? Like, she's just learning to embrace it, learning to just be okay with all the ins and outs of it. They're growing up. Some mothers have older children, just embracing motherhood for what it is, the good, the bad, the ugly, all of it.
Really just taking it a day at a time, because things that your children do change, and phases that they go through change literally from day to day. So taking it one day at a time, and also not killing yourself over, or stressing out over, and I'm talking to myself when I say these things too. Not stressing out over things that you cannot control, and having a sense of balance when it comes to being a mother and taking care of other things as well. So, I mean, it's a lot. I mean, it's just so much. I could go on and on, but just taking a day at a time, having balance, and not, beating yourself up.
Awesome. We have one question in the comment section that says also, the biggest piece of advice that you would give to a future mother based on your experience, like someone who's not even expecting, but just, desires to be, and is asking, like, what would be your advice to them as far as preparing? I would assume is what they're saying. Yeah, I would assume that that's the question.
So I would say, like, are they like trying to have a baby?
I don't think they're trying. No, I don't think they're trying. I think they're
enjoy your life right now, and don't worry about being a mother. enjoy it. Enjoy your freedom. Enjoy going to the snowball stand and getting the snowball. Enjoy eating your food by yourself. And like, we as people, and there's nothing wrong with wanting the next phase. There's nothing wrong with that. But we as people, we cannot, and I'm talking to myself too, we cannot sit and enjoy the space that we are in so much as we are wanting to move to what's next.
Phase. Yeah.
Not knowing that the next phase of whatever you're going to get to next is going to be the next level of stress. The next level, like things you haven't even dealt with that you don't know how to deal with. So enjoy your, just enjoy your life right now as it is. Don't worry about it. Like, if you're not really preparing to have a child, or not planning to have a child, just take the space now to enjoy where you are.
Enjoy where you are.
It will come when it comes. And when you get, pregnant and you're about to prepare to have a child, then I would say surround yourself with mothers, like I said before, who, you would like to, parent, similar to the way they parent. Then you can, ask specific questions. But for right now, just enjoy your life.
Yeah, I love that. Enjoy where you are, embrace where you are, and keep it regular. Just love the regular life. Amen. Okay, my favorite question of the show, which is, how do you believe that grace is wrapped up in motherhood? Because in the show we talk about how the scripture of our show is 2 Corinthians 12:9, which is, and he said unto me that my grace is sufficient for you, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, most gladly, I will rather boast in my infirmities than in that the power of Christ may rest upon you or on me. And one of the things that I loved about the scripture when God gave me the podcast was, my favorite part in it was, he said that I would rather boast in my infirmities, the things that kind of make me weak, because those are the things that for me, believe that other people can build on when they see where you've been weak and that you now have built on. So now when I tell you my weakness, you can see the things that I have overcome. So now you can gracefully go through. And so one of my questions always is, how do you believe that we aren't just made for what we do and or produce? As mothers, we are not just made to, again, be the noun, but we're the verb. And so as we are action takers, how do you believe that we are graced to mother? Because you have that we are also created to mother. And so how do you believe that we are graced to mother and not just made for it?
So like, this is a real churchy question for me. So
yes,
I'm just gonna answer it to the best of my ability. So
I take my glasses.
We all know that
was funny. Okay.
So we all know that motherhood is hard. It is difficult. Some days you may feel like, did I do it? Oh, sorry, my thing came out. Did I do enough today? Like, am I doing this right? Like, you might not have a clue what you're doing. You might just be beating yourself up, going through a rough time. But at the end of the day, you have to give yourself grace, especially when you know that you are or have been trying your hardest or doing your best. And when you know that you're trying your hardest and you're doing your best and you're still having a rough time, you have to give yourself grace to know that, look, I'm doing my best and it is what it is. Yes.
So as you guys have it, that our amazing Des Easley, which again I said is the creator of the blog online, which is on Instagram called Created to Mother, said that to grace is literally, I believe, and she also said, is that it's wraps up in motherhood. We must give ourselves grace. We must give our children grace as they are growing up, as they are making different mistakes and having to sit in timeout. They have grace. Love them, but you got to sit in timeout, okay? Go read some scriptures in the corner and tell me how they made your life feel better. All in all, we aren't just made for motherhood, but we are most certainly graced for it. Des, I thank you so much for coming on, because everyone else doesn't know, but I know that you don't do all this for
baby. I do not,
baby.
And I'm gonna tell you, I didn't know this was gonna have video, and I would have never agreed to it. But you know what? We're good.
See, the Lord is just changing us. He's growing us. He's making us anew.
Okay. All
so
right.
I'm excited. It is going to also be on Apple Podcasts as well as on Anchor. It's going to be on Spotify. So you guys can definitely, if someone missed it, have them come back with us. Have them come out. But I do thank you for answering the questions to the best of your complete ability. I saw that my video started acting crazy. So I am going to go ahead and take us out. And I just thank you so much for coming and giving us all your good stuff. Again, everybody follow her on Instagram at Created to Mother for all the amazing quotes, and catch me up and pick me up throughout the day, because they are so needed. And we thank you again. See you later.
No problem. Bye.